Part 14 of the Military Journals of Two Private Soldiers, 1758-1775. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by FNH. The Military Journals of Two Private Soldiers, 1758-1775, by Abraham Tomlinson. Part 14. The 10. Being Sunday, our men went on fatigue, and the enemy fired upon them, and broke 3 guns that were paraded, but hurt no man. At night there was a man deserted from Cambridge, and went to the enemy. The 11. We turned out and went to our alarm post, and Ensign Parrott shook one of his men for disobeying orders. This day there was a boat drove ashore belonging to the regulars, and a sergeant and 5 men on board, and they were all taken prisoners. At night I went upon picket, and was almost frozen to death. The 12. Our men went down to Lamb's Dam to entrenching, not above half a mile from the enemy's breastwork, but nothing remarkable happened. The 13. Colonel Clapp, officer of the day, our men took this day 26 prisoners from Mystic River, as we heard. The 14. This morning I went upon fatigue, down in the street, the road leading from Roxbury across the neck into Boston, and the enemy fired 1 shot at us, and struck the breastwork, but did no damage. Captain Pond was from New Hampshire, and was an officer in Colonel Stark's regiment, commanded of the party. The 15. There was a regular and 2 men of war's men, from the vessels known as men of war, ran away last night, and this morning nothing more remarkable. There was 3 guns fired on board the ship in Cambridge Bay. The 16. Nothing remarkable happened, only the regulars fired several shot at our men that were upon fatigue, but did no damage. The 17. Being Sunday, I went upon the fatigue, and the enemy fired several times at our men, but did no damage, and they threw several bombs. The 18. I came of the Creek Guard, and the enemy fired several cannon at our men, but killed none, and only wounded 1 or 2 slightly. And last night there were several men ran away from a man-of-war, and towards night the enemy fired several shots from the ship in Cambridge Bay, but our men fired 1 shot from Prospect Hill at the ship in the bay, but did not strike her. The 19. The enemy began to fire about 8 o'clock into the street, but did no damage, except slightly wounding 1 or 2. At night I went upon the picket, and nothing remarkable happened. Also there was a man put under guard for coming on to the parade drunk. The 20. Nothing remarkable happened this day. The enemy fired 1 shot at our fatigue party, but did no damage. They fired over at Bunker's Hill, and threw several bombs. The 21. Last night I was on the door guard, and this morning the enemy fired small arms at our men, but did no damage. In the afternoon they fired cannon, but to no purpose. The 22. Last night I was upon the door guard, this being the King's coronation. George III and his wife Charlotte were crowned on the 22nd of September, 1761. It was always a holiday next to that of the King's birthday. The enemy fired a number of cannon, and towards night they put in balls, but did no damage. The 23. I went upon fatigue down in the street, and the enemy began to fire at us about 9 o'clock, and fired without intermission for some time. By the best accounts, they fired above 100 balls, and our men fired 3 cannon from our breastwork near Lamb's Dam, and 1 of the balls went into Boston amongst the housen. But through the good hand of divine providence, in all their firing, they did not kill 1 man, nor wound any except 1 or 2 slightly. Frothingham says, on the 23rd the British discharged 108 cannon and mortars on the works at Roxbury without doing any damage. The 24. Being Sunday, we went to meeting, and heard a fine sermon from Psalms 14:11. This day our men went on fatigue as usual, but the enemy did not fire upon them. The 25. I went on fatigue down in the thicket in the forenoon, and at noon I was taken not well, and did not go in the afternoon. Our men fired 3 field pieces at the enemy, but what execution they did we cannot determine, nothing more. The 26th. Nothing remarkable happened this day. Only there was 200 men drafted out to go to the Governor's Island to take some cattle. The 27th. Our men went out to the island and took 12 head of cattle and 2 horses, and came without any molestation. This expedition was under Major Tupper. They burnt a fine pleasure boat just ready to be launched, belonging to some British officers. At night I went upon the picket, and it rained very hard, and we turned into the Housen, and Le Colonel Clapp, of the Rhode Island Army of Observation, under General Greene, was officer of the picket. The 28th. Nothing remarkable happened this day. There was 2 guns fired from the ship in Cambridge Bay. The 29th. This day the ship sailed out of Cambridge Bay, and there was another came and took her place at night. I went on the picket without any supper, nothing remarkable. The 30th. This morning our men fired 1 field piece as the regulars came to relieve their main guard, and that affronted them, and they began to fire their cannon from their breastwork and floating battery, and they fired about 30 cannon, but did no damage. Also last night there was 2 regulars deserted and came to our sentries on the neck. Nothing more remarkable this day. October A, 1775. The 1. Being Sunday, I went to meeting up to the Connecticut forces, and Mr. Willard preached a sermon from Chronicles, the 20th chapter, 10, 11, 12. Also in the afternoon, Mr. Willard preached a sermon from 1st of Corinthians, 15, chapter 54 and 55 verses. Also last night there was 6 marines deserted from on board the Scarborough. This was a sloop of war carrying 20 guns. The 2. Nothing remarkable happened this day. General Thomas' brigade passed muster about sunset. As our picket paraded on the grand parade, the enemy fired 3 or 4 shots up to the meeting house. One of the balls went through the shed by the Providence Tavern, but did no damage of consequence. At night our chimney swallow went on the picket for nothing, and found himself. The 3. Nothing remarkable happened this day. At night I went upon the picket. The 4. We passed muster. Nothing remarkable happened this day, only there was 4 of the enemy deserted at night. The 5. Nothing remarkable happened this day, only there was 5 or 6 prisoners went through the camp that were taken at Dartmouth. He probably refers to the prisoners taken in the armed schooner, Margaretta, at Machias, Maine, in the month of May, by some Americans under Jeremiah O'Brien, or they may have been of the crew of 2 small cruisers afterward captured by O'Brien. They were taken to Watertown, where the Provincial Congress of Massachusetts was in session, on board the prize that our men took. The 6. The enemy fired between 80 and 90 cannon at our men, but killed 9 only, cut off 1 man's arm, and killed 2 cows. So much for this day. The 7. I went upon the creek guard, and nothing remarkable happened. At night there was a regular deserted, and the regular guard fired upon him, but did not hurt him. End of Part 14. Recording by FNH. Please visit my blog at Felbrigg, that's FELBRIGG.blogspot.com.